My precious child, stop for a moment and listen with your whole heart, because what you are about to hear is not an ordinary message. It is a divine interruption meant to reach you at exactly the right moment. On August 27th, something in the spiritual atmosphere begins to shift in ways that many cannot see with their natural eyes. If you have been feeling exhausted from chasing people who never truly valued you, pursuing opportunities that always slipped through your fingers, or begging for doors to open that remained firmly closed, then this message has found you for a reason. Archangel Michael stands as a symbol of courage, protection, and unwavering faithfulness, and today his message carries an invitation that could completely change the direction of your heart. It is simple, yet powerful. Do not chase them anymore. Heaven is already bringing the right ones to your door. For too long, you may have believed that if you worked harder, loved deeper, explained yourself better, or sacrificed more, the right people would finally choose you. You may have spent sleepless nights wondering why relationships faded, why promises were broken, or why certain dreams remained just beyond your reach. But what if the greatest breakthrough was never waiting at the end of your pursuit? What if heaven was quietly protecting you from connections that would have drained your peace instead of multiplying your joy? Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually divine redirection, leading you away from what looks good for a moment and toward what is truly meant for your life. There are moments when heaven closes doors so gently that we mistake the silence for abandonment. Yet behind that silence, unseen preparations are already taking place. While you questioned your worth, new paths were being prepared. While you mourned what was leaving, blessings were quietly moving closer. While you wondered why no one seemed to recognize your value, your future was being shaped with wisdom that reaches far beyond human understanding. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. There has always been a purpose unfolding, even when your eyes could not yet see it. This is why you must not measure your future by the disappointments of your past. The people who walked away were not powerful enough to cancel what heaven has planned for you. The opportunities that disappeared were not the final chapter of your story. Every delay, every unexpected ending, and every unanswered question has been weaving together a greater picture that will only become clear in time. There comes a moment when striving ends and receiving begins, when fear gives way to peace, and when what belongs in your life no longer has to be chased because it arrives in perfect timing. Imagine what your life could feel like if you stopped running after acceptance and started resting in the confidence that what is truly yours cannot miss you. Imagine waking up without the burden of proving yourself to people who have already made their choices. Imagine discovering that the relationships, opportunities, and divine appointments meant for you come with peace instead of confusion, clarity instead of anxiety, and hope instead of constant striving. That is the invitation being placed before you today. As this message settles into your spirit, allow yourself to release the weight you were never meant to carry. You do not have to force every door open. You do not have to convince every person to stay. You do not have to exhaust yourself chasing what continually runs away. Trust that heaven sees what you cannot see. Trust that divine timing is never late. Trust that the right people, the right opportunities, and the right season are already moving toward you, even if the journey remains hidden for now. This is not the end of your waiting. It is the beginning of a completely different way of walking, one marked not by endless pursuit, but by peaceful expectation. A quiet truth is about to settle into your heart, and once it does, you may never look at your past disappointments the same way again. There were seasons when you believed that every closed door was proof that you had failed. Every unanswered message felt personal. Every opportunity that slipped away seemed like evidence that someone else was more deserving than you. The pain was real, and the questions were endless. You prayed for answers, Yet heaven often responded with silence. You wondered why your efforts produced so little reward and why the people you cared about seemed so willing to leave. But what if that silence was never empty? What if it was filled with unseen protection working on your behalf? Archangel Michael's message today invites you to look beyond what your eyes have been able to see. There's a battle that often takes place before any visible blessing arrives. While people naturally focus on the doors that close, heaven focuses on the dangers hidden behind those doors. There are relationships that appear beautiful on the surface, but carry hidden burdens that would slowly steal your peace. There are opportunities that promise success, but quietly lead your heart away from your purpose. There are conversations that seem harmless, but would eventually fill your spirit with discouragement instead of hope. You cannot always recognize these things in the moment, but divine wisdom sees what human understanding cannot. Think about the moments when something you desperately wanted suddenly disappeared. At first, it may have felt unbearable. You replayed every conversation in your mind, wondering what you could have said differently. You questioned your value because someone else failed to recognize it. Yet as time passed, perhaps you discovered pieces of the story you never knew before. Perhaps the person you pursued revealed a character that would have wounded you deeply. Perhaps the opportunity you lost would have taken you away from the people who truly needed you. Sometimes the greatest mercy does not arrive as an open door. Sometimes it arrives disguised as a closed one. This is why faith becomes so important during seasons of waiting. Faith is not pretending that disappointment does not hurt. Faith is believing that heaven is still working even when your emotions cannot yet understand the process. It is choosing to trust that every delay has a purpose, even when that purpose remains hidden. The heart naturally wants immediate answers, but divine timing often develops qualities that instant success never could. Patience, wisdom, humility, discernment, and compassion are often formed in seasons when nothing appears to be happening. Yet beneath the surface, those very qualities prepare you to carry the blessings that are still on their way. There is another reason certain doors have remained closed, and it is one that many people overlook. Sometimes heaven is not only preparing your future, it is preparing you. Imagine receiving everything you prayed for before your heart was ready to protect it. Imagine stepping into a beautiful relationship while still carrying the wounds of betrayal from the last one. Imagine receiving great influence while still seeking approval from people who never truly understood your calling. Without healing, even the greatest blessings can become difficult to sustain. This is why your waiting has not been wasted. Every lesson had been shaping the person you are becoming. Perhaps you have asked, why has this taken so long? It is a question many faithful hearts have whispered during lonely nights. Yet consider this possibility. What if the people heaven intends to bring into your life have also been walking through their own season of preparation? What if they, too, have been learning difficult lessons, overcoming hidden struggles, and growing into the person they are meant to become? Divine connections are rarely built through rushed timing. They are often created when two prepared paths finally meet at the exact moment appointed by heaven. That is why you must resist the temptation to chase what continues to move away from you. Constant pursuit often creates exhaustion instead of peace. It convinces you that your value depends on someone else's acceptance. But your worth has never been determined by human approval. It was established long before anyone formed an opinion about you. The right people will not require you to abandon your dignity in order to earn a place in their lives. The right opportunities will not demand that you compromise your deepest values. What heaven provides will come with clarity, not confusion. With peace, not endless striving. As August 27th approaches, allow this message to become more than encouraging words. Let it become a new way of thinking. Release the belief that every closed door was a punishment. Release the fear that you have somehow missed your moment. Instead, begin to see every delay through the lens of divine protection. Trust that while you could only see today's disappointment, heaven could already see tomorrow's victory. The path ahead may still hold surprises, but you no longer need to fear what you cannot yet understand. Archangel Michael's message reminds you that protection is often invisible until the danger has passed. One day you will look back and realize that what felt like rejection was actually one of the greatest acts of mercy ever placed upon your life. And when that realization finally arrives, your heart will no longer ask why certain people left or why certain doors remained closed. Instead, you will quietly thank heaven for refusing to let you settle for anything less than what was truly prepared for you from the very beginning. There comes a moment in every spiritual journey when heaven begins to separate what is temporary from what is eternal, what is draining from what is life-giving, and what merely looks good from what is truly good. That moment is often misunderstood because it rarely feels comfortable. In fact, it can feel like loss before it feels like freedom. If you have recently noticed certain people becoming distant, conversations growing quiet, or relationships ending without the closure you hoped for, do not rush to believe that your life is falling apart. Sometimes heaven removes what your heart is still trying to hold on to because it sees what your eyes cannot. Archangel Michael's message is not one of fear but of reassurance. What is leaving was never meant to carry you into the season that is now approaching. Many people spend years trying to revive relationships that heaven has already released. They replay old memories, hoping that one more conversation, one more apology, or one more sacrifice will restore what has already reached its ending. But divine wisdom teaches something different. Not every ending is a tragedy. Some endings are acts of mercy. Some goodbyes are heaven's way of making room for greetings that will carry greater peace, greater purpose, and greater joy than anything that came before. When you continue chasing those who have already chosen to walk away, you unknowingly delay the emotional freedom needed to recognize the people who are quietly being guided toward you. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it feels to force a connection that no longer flows naturally? Every conversation feels heavy. Every effort seems one-sided. Every attempt to rebuild what once existed only creates more confusion. This is not how divine relationships are meant to grow. The right people may not always agree with you, but they will never require you to abandon your dignity to remain in their lives. They will not make you earn basic respect through endless striving. They will not leave you constantly questioning where you stand. One of the clearest signs that heaven is leading a relationship is the presence of peace. It is not perfection, but peace. Even during challenges, there is honesty, trust, and mutual commitment instead of constant emotional uncertainty. Perhaps you have been grieving someone who disappeared without explanation. Perhaps you still wonder why someone who once promised loyalty suddenly became a stranger. Those questions are understandable, but today you are being invited to exchange those questions for trust. There are conversations that heaven prevented because they would have created deeper wounds. There are reconciliations that never happened because they would have reopened doors that needed to remain closed. There are people who walked away because their assignment in your life had already ended. Holding on to them cannot create a future that heaven has not written. Archangel Michael reminds you that protection often arrives quietly. You may not hear the sound of chains breaking, but they break. You may not see every obstacle being removed, but they are removed. You may not recognize every unseen danger that has already passed by your life, but one day you will understand that your path was guarded more carefully than you ever imagined. Every person who exits your life creates room for someone whose presence will strengthen your faith instead of weakening it. Every unnecessary attachment that falls away creates space for divine appointments that could never have entered while your hands remain tightly closed around the past. As August 27th draws near, resist the temptation to chase what continues to move farther away. Instead, ask for the wisdom to recognize what heaven is already bringing closer. There is a profound difference between pursuing your purpose and pursuing people who have repeatedly shown that they do not wish to walk beside you. Your purpose deserves your energy. Your calling deserves your attention. Your peace deserves your protection. The right relationships will never require you to live in constant fear of being abandoned because they are built upon mutual respect, sincere love, and shared purpose rather than insecurity. This is the season to loosen your grip on yesterday so you can receive tomorrow with open hands. Refuse to measure your value by those who failed to recognize it. Refuse to believe that every departure is a sign that you are being left behind. Heaven is not emptying your life without reason. It is making room. It is rearranging. It is aligning. Every unexpected farewell is creating space for an unexpected arrival. Every closed chapter is preparing the beginning of another one that carries greater peace than the last. The people who truly belong in your life will not have to be hunted down, persuaded to stay, or convinced of your worth. They will recognize the value that heaven has already placed within you, and their presence will confirm what your spirit has long been waiting to experience: relationships that bring peace instead of pressure, encouragement instead of confusion, and lasting joy instead of constant exhaustion. Before this moment passes, receive this declaration with faith. You are not being abandoned. You are being aligned. You are not losing what was meant for you. You are being separated from what could never carry you into your promised season. Trust the process, even when it feels unfamiliar, because heaven never removes without preparing something better in its perfect time. Type "I receive divine alignment" in the comments if this message is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 2147 has just been released. As you receive this message, remember that every seed sown into God's work becomes a light that reaches another searching heart. The Lord declares that those who sow generously will also reap generously, and today that promise is alive for everyone who responds in faith. If your heart is saying, "I want to help this message reach the person who needs it most," let that desire become an act of obedience. Your super thanks or PayPal gift helps carry messages of hope to countless lives, and the PayPal donation link is available in every video description as well as through the QR code shown in each video. May every gift you release become a prophetic seed for open doors, divine protection, and unexpected favor over your life. Do not delay the prompting placed in your spirit. Sow your seed today and become part of the harvest heaven is already preparing. There is something about divine timing that the human heart struggles to accept. We naturally want immediate answers, instant breakthroughs, and visible evidence that our prayers are being heard. When those answers do not arrive as quickly as we expect, discouragement quietly begins to whisper that perhaps we have been forgotten. But Archangel Michael's message for this season gently challenges that belief. Heaven is never in a hurry because heaven is never late. What appears delayed from your perspective is often unfolding with remarkable precision from a higher perspective. Every moment, every encounter, and every closed door is being woven together into a plan that is far greater than anything you could arrange on your own. Think about a seed planted deep beneath the soil. For a long time, nothing seems to happen. The ground looks unchanged. There is no visible proof that life exists beneath the surface. Yet during that hidden season, the most important work is taking place. Roots are growing before branches appear. Strength is developing before beauty becomes visible. If someone became impatient and dug up the seed every few days to check its progress, they would destroy the very growth they hoped to see. In much the same way, many people interrupt their own season of preparation by constantly chasing what heaven has asked them to trust. They become so focused on making something happen that they lose sight of the quiet work already taking place beneath the surface. Perhaps you have wondered why certain opportunities almost came together but then suddenly disappeared. Perhaps someone entered your life and everything seemed promising, only for the connection to end without explanation. At the time, those moments may have felt confusing or even unfair. Yet what if those experiences were not signs that your future was falling apart? What if they were evidence that heaven refused to let you settle for something that was merely good because something far better was still being prepared? Divine timing often protects you from accepting a temporary answer that would prevent you from receiving a lasting blessing. Archangel Michael reminds you that preparation is rarely visible while it is happening. There are conversations taking place that you know nothing about. There are hearts being changed beyond your sight. There are opportunities slowly moving into position. There are people whose paths are quietly being redirected until the moment they intersect with yours. None of these things require your constant striving. They require your willingness to trust. Heaven does not ask you to control every detail. It asks you to remain faithful while the unseen work continues. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that waiting means doing nothing. True waiting is not passive. It is active trust. It is continuing to grow while the promise is still on its way. It is choosing kindness when disappointment tempts you toward bitterness. It is strengthening your faith instead of feeding your fears. It is becoming the person who can carry tomorrow's blessings with wisdom, humility, and gratitude. Waiting with faith transforms the heart. Waiting with fear drains the heart. The choice you make during this season will shape how you receive what is coming. There is also a beautiful truth that many overlook. While you have been waiting for certain people to enter your life, they may also have been walking through their own season of preparation. They may have needed healing before they could become a source of peace rather than pain. They may have needed wisdom before they could recognize the value of the connection heaven intended. Just as your heart has been growing through challenges, so have theirs. Divine appointments are not accidents. They happen when multiple stories, each shaped by grace and preparation, finally meet at exactly the right moment. This is why chasing rarely produces lasting peace. When you force relationships or opportunities ahead of their proper time, you often inherit unnecessary burdens. You begin carrying responsibilities that were never meant to be yours. You spend energy trying to sustain what should have developed naturally. But when heaven opens a door, there is a different atmosphere surrounding it. There is peace where there was once prejudice. There is confidence where there was once confusion. There is quiet assurance that you no longer have to convince anyone of your worth, because what belongs to you recognizes you without endless pursuit. As August 27th approaches, allow your heart to release the illusion that every blessing depends upon your ability to chase it down. Some of the greatest gifts in life arrive not because they were pursued relentlessly, but because they were received with open hands at the appointed time. Trust that every season has its purpose. Trust that every delay has carried hidden wisdom. Trust that the one who sees the end from the beginning has never lost sight of your journey. Today, make a quiet decision within your spirit. Refuse to measure divine timing by human impatience. Refuse to compare your journey with someone else's path. Your story is unfolding according to a purpose that cannot be rushed without losing its beauty. The right people are not being delayed because heaven has forgotten you. They are being prepared, just as you are being prepared. And when the appointed moment arrives, you will understand why every closed door, every unexpected pause, and every season of waiting was necessary. You will discover that heaven was never withholding your blessing. It was protecting its perfect timing, so that when it finally arrived, it would bring lasting peace instead of temporary excitement, lasting purpose instead of passing emotion, and lasting joy instead of another season of chasing what was never truly meant to remain. Something remarkable begins to happen when you stop running after what continually escapes you. At first, the silence may feel unfamiliar because you have become accustomed to striving. You have spent so much time trying to keep certain people interested, trying to force opportunities into existence, and trying to hold together situations that were already falling apart. But when you finally release that burden, you create room for something entirely different to enter your life. That is the quiet miracle hidden within Archangel Michael's message. Heaven does not ask you to chase what it has already assigned to find you. Instead, it asks you to remain faithful, alert, and ready to receive what is being prepared. Many people imagine that divine blessings always arrive with dramatic signs and unmistakable announcements. Sometimes they do. More often, however, they arrive quietly. A simple conversation changes the direction of your future. An unexpected invitation opens a door you never knew existed. A chance meeting becomes the beginning of a lifelong friendship. A single decision made in faith leads to opportunities that years of striving could never produce. Heaven often works through moments that seem ordinary until you look back and realize they were extraordinary all along. This is why you must not underestimate the season you are entering. August 27th is not presented as a day to create fear or unrealistic expectations. Rather, let it remind you that heaven's timing is always moving forward, even when you cannot see every detail. There are blessings already in motion. There are conversations taking place that you know nothing about. There are hearts being prepared to recognize your value. There are opportunities developing behind closed doors. None of these things require your constant anxiety. They require your willingness to trust that what God has appointed cannot be permanently delayed by human circumstances. Archangel Michael's message reminds you that peace is one of the clearest signs of divine direction. The world often teaches that success comes only through endless pressure, constant competition, and exhausting effort. While diligence certainly has its place, there is a profound difference between faithful work and fearful striving. Faithful work is guided by purpose. Fearful striving is driven by insecurity. One strengthens your spirit, while the other solely drains it. When heaven opens a door, you may still need courage to walk through it, but you will not be consumed by the desperate fear of losing it every moment. Peace becomes the steady companion of those who trust divine timing. Perhaps you have noticed small changes already taking place. Maybe you feel less attached to the opinions of people who once controlled your emotions. Perhaps certain disappointments no longer carry the same weight they once did. Maybe your heart has begun to desire peace more than approval. These are not insignificant changes. They are signs of spiritual growth. They reveal that your identity is becoming rooted in something stronger than temporary circumstances. As your inner life becomes healthier, you naturally become ready to recognize healthier relationships and wiser opportunities when they appear. There is another beautiful truth that deserves your attention. The blessings heaven sends into your life often reflect the condition of your own heart. As you grow in patience, gratitude, and wisdom, you become capable of appreciating gifts that you may have overlooked in earlier seasons. You no longer chase appearances because you have learned to value character. You no longer seek constant excitement because you have discovered the quiet strength of peace. This transformation allows you to recognize divine appointments that might once have seemed too ordinary to notice. What once looked small may become the very doorway to your greatest blessing. Do not become discouraged if everything has not changed overnight. The sunrise does not rush across the horizon, yet it faithfully arrives every morning. In the same way, heaven often unfolds its plans one step at a time. Each day brings another piece of the picture into focus. Each act of faith prepares you for the next opportunity. Each moment of trust strengthens your confidence that you are not walking this journey alone. Archangel Michael's message is not inviting you to wait passively. It is inviting you to live expectantly, believing that every faithful step is bringing you closer to what has already been prepared. As you continue forward, guard your heart against the temptation to return to old patterns. Resist the urge to reopen doors that heaven has already closed. Resist the desire to seek validation from people who consistently fail to appreciate your worth. Every step backward delays your ability to fully embrace what lies ahead. Instead, choose gratitude for the progress you have already made. Celebrate the peace that is replacing confusion. Celebrate the wisdom that is replacing desperation. Celebrate the confidence that is replacing fear. The season before you is not defined by what you have lost. It is defined by what heaven is preparing to reveal. The right people will come without manipulation. The right opportunities will arrive without compromising your integrity. The right doors will open in ways that confirm peace rather than produce constant uncertainty. Trust that every lesson you have learned has been shaping you for this moment. Lift your eyes with quiet confidence, because the path ahead is no longer one of endless pursuit. It is becoming a journey of faithful expectation, where every step is guided by wisdom, protected by grace, and illuminated by the certainty that heaven is already bringing the right ones to your door. There are battles taking place around your life that you may never fully see with your natural eyes. Some of the greatest victories are won long before you recognize that danger was ever near. This is one of the most comforting truths behind Archangel Michael's message. His presence reminds us of divine protection, of courage in uncertain moments, and of the assurance that heaven is never absent when life feels confusing. While you have been looking for visible answers, there has also been invisible guidance, gently directing your steps away from paths that would have stolen your peace. The protection of heaven is often quiet, but it is never inactive. Think back to moments when your plans suddenly changed without warning. A meeting was canceled. A journey was delayed. A relationship unexpectedly ended. An opportunity that seemed perfect disappeared almost overnight. At the time, you may have viewed those events as disappointments. You may even have questioned why your prayers seemed unanswered. Yet as the months passed, some of those painful moments began to make sense. You discovered truths that had once been hidden. You realized that certain people were never who they appeared to be. You saw how paths that looked promising would have carried you far from the peace you enjoy today. What once felt like loss slowly revealed itself as protection. This is how divine guidance often works. It does not always announce itself with dramatic signs. More often, it quietly redirects your steps before you are even aware of the danger ahead. Imagine a traveler walking toward a bridge that appears perfectly safe, unaware that it has become unstable. If someone lovingly redirects that traveler onto another road, the traveler may initially feel frustrated by the unexpected detour. Only later, after discovering what lay ahead, does gratitude replace disappointment. In much the same way, heaven sometimes leads you away from what appears attractive because it already sees the outcome that remains hidden from your view. Archangel Michael's message calls you to develop confidence in this unseen protection. Confidence does not mean believing that life will never contain challenges. It means believing that no challenge enters your life without heaven already knowing how to guide you through it. There will still be moments of uncertainty. There will still be seasons when answers arrive more slowly than you would prefer. Yet even during those times, you are not abandoned. Every sincere prayer is heard. Every tear is noticed. Every quiet act of faith matters more than you realize. Heaven's silence is never evidence of absence. Often it is the sound of careful preparation. One of the greatest obstacles to receiving divine guidance is fear. Fear convinces you that everything depends upon your ability to control every detail. It whispers that if you stop chasing, everything important will disappear. It tells you that you must constantly prove yourself or you will be forgotten. But fear is a poor guide because it demands endless striving while never offering lasting peace. Faith, on the other hand, teaches you to move with wisdom rather than panic. Faith allows you to make decisions with a calm heart instead of an anxious spirit. It reminds you that what heaven has prepared for you cannot be stolen simply because you chose peace over desperation. As August 27th approaches, allow this message to strengthen your confidence in the path ahead. There may still be unanswered questions, but unanswered questions do not mean unanswered prayers. There may still be delays, but delays are not the same as denial. There may still be closed doors, but every closed door creates the possibility for another one to open at precisely the right time. Instead of interpreting every obstacle as proof that you are moving in the wrong direction, begin asking whether it may actually be guiding you toward something greater than you have imagined. There is also another form of protection that often goes unnoticed. Sometimes heaven protects you by changing your own heart. It softens bitterness before it becomes permanent. It replaces resentment with wisdom. It teaches you to forgive, not because the past was acceptable, but because your future is too valuable to remain chained to old wounds. This inner transformation is one of the greatest miracles you can experience. As your heart becomes lighter, your vision becomes clearer. You begin recognizing opportunities that fear once prevented you from seeing. You become more sensitive to peace than to pressure, more attentive to wisdom than to emotion. Do not underestimate how much has already changed within you. The person you are becoming is not the same person who began this journey. Every challenge has refined your character. Every disappointment has deepened your discernment. Every season of waiting has strengthened your patience. These qualities are preparing you for relationships that honor your heart and opportunities that align with your purpose. They are also helping you recognize the difference between doors that merely appear attractive and doors that truly carry heaven's blessing. So walk forward with renewed confidence. You do not have to force tomorrow into existence, because tomorrow is already being prepared. You do not have to fear every unexpected turn because your steps are not left to chance. Trust that divine protection is surrounding you even when you cannot see it. Trust that Archangel Michael's message is not calling you into uncertainty but into deeper confidence. The path ahead may still contain surprises, but it is no longer a path you must travel with anxiety. It is a path illuminated by quiet assurance, where every faithful step is guided by wisdom, strengthened by grace, and protected by the unseen hand of heaven until the right people and the right opportunities arrive exactly when they are meant to. A new season never begins by accident. Before heaven entrusts you with relationships that strengthen your spirit, opportunities that expand your purpose, or responsibilities that require greater wisdom, it often performs its deepest work within your own heart. This is the preparation that many people overlook because it cannot be measured by outward success. It happens quietly. It happens through ordinary days, unexpected challenges, and moments when you choose faith over frustration. Archangel Michael's message is not only about the people heaven is bringing to your door. It is also about the person you are becoming before that door finally opens. The quality of what you receive is closely connected to the quality of the heart that receives it. There was a time when you may have accepted relationships simply because you feared being alone. You may have ignored warning signs because you did not want another goodbye. You may have lowered your standards, hoping that enough patience or enough sacrifice would eventually change someone else's heart. Looking back, you can now see how exhausting that way of living became. It required constant compromise, endless emotional effort, and a willingness to overlook the peace that your spirit kept longing for. But heaven never intended for your life to be built upon fear. It was always meant to be established upon truth, wisdom, and confidence. One of the greatest gifts that develops during seasons of waiting is discernment. Discernment is more than recognizing right from wrong. It is learning to distinguish between what is merely attractive and what is truly aligned with your purpose. Not every opportunity deserves your attention. Not every invitation deserves your acceptance. Not every relationship deserves permanent access to your heart. Wisdom teaches you that saying no to the wrong things creates room to say yes to the right ones. This understanding protects your future in ways that excitement alone never could. Archangel Michael's message reminds you that preparation often begins with healing. Wounds that remain hidden have a way of influencing future decisions. A heart that has not recovered from betrayal may struggle to trust even those who are sincere. A person who still measures their worth by past rejection may unknowingly push away genuine love because they expect disappointment. This is why heaven often slows the journey. It is not delaying your blessing. It is restoring your heart so that when the blessing arrives, you can embrace it without fear controlling your response. Healing does not mean pretending the past never happened. It means refusing to allow yesterday's pain to dictate tomorrow's possibilities. Every difficult experience has the potential to become either a prison or a lesson. When you surrender those experiences to God, they become sources of wisdom rather than lifelong burdens. Instead of asking why the hurt happened, you begin asking what it has taught you. Instead of remaining trapped by regret, you become equipped with discernment. This transformation is one of the clearest signs that your spirit is maturing. As your heart grows stronger, your expectations also begin to change. You no longer seek people who simply make you feel accepted for a moment. You begin looking for those who encourage honesty, growth, and peace. You become less impressed by appearances and more attentive to character. You notice how someone treats others when there is nothing to gain. You value consistency more than impressive promises. You appreciate quiet integrity more than temporary excitement. These changes may seem subtle, but they reveal that heaven has already been reshaping your perspective. There is another important truth that deserves your attention. The people heaven is preparing to bring into your life are also looking for someone who has learned these same lessons. Healthy relationships are rarely built when only one person has grown. They flourish when both individuals have allowed wisdom, patience, and humility to shape their lives. This is why divine timing matters so deeply. It is not simply about placing two people together. It is about bringing together two prepared hearts that are capable of building something lasting rather than something temporary. Do not become discouraged if your growth has required difficult seasons. Gold is refined through fire, not through comfort. Strong foundations are built carefully, not hurriedly. Every challenge you have overcome has strengthened qualities that cannot be purchased or rushed. Your patience has become deeper. Your compassion has become richer. Your understanding has become clearer. Even the disappointments you once wished to erase have contributed to the wisdom you now carry. Nothing had been wasted when it had been placed into heaven's hands. As August 27th approaches, allow yourself to welcome this season of preparation instead of resisting it. Continue becoming the kind of person who values peace above pressure, purpose above popularity, and truth above temporary approval. Trust that every lesson you are learning today is preparing you for relationships that will honor your heart rather than exhaust it. Trust that every quiet act of faith is shaping a future that reflects heaven's wisdom rather than human urgency. Walk forward with confidence, knowing that your preparation is not happening in isolation. While your heart is growing stronger, heaven is also arranging circumstances beyond your sight. The right conversations are drawing closer. The right opportunities are moving into place. The right people are being guided step by step toward the moment when your paths will finally meet. When that day arrives, you will recognize that this season was never about losing time. It was about gaining the wisdom necessary to receive what heaven had always intended to place into your hands. You will no longer wonder why certain doors remained closed for so long, because the peace you experience when the right door finally opens will answer every question that waiting could never explain. There comes a beautiful moment in every journey when striving quietly comes to an end and receiving finally begins. It does not happen because you become perfect. It does not happen because you have solved every problem or answered every question. It happens because heaven recognizes that your heart has become ready for what it has been preparing all along. Archangel Michael's message points toward this very moment. After seasons of waiting, healing, and learning to release what was never truly yours, you begin to notice something extraordinary. The right people no longer have to be pursued with exhausting effort. They arrive with peace. They remain with sincerity. They encourage your purpose instead of distracting you from it. One of the clearest signs that a relationship hath been guided by heaven is the absence of constant confusion. This does not mean every conversation will be effortless or that disagreements will never occur. Rather, it means that honesty replaces manipulation, trust replaces suspicion, and respect replaces emotional games. You no longer find yourself wondering where you stand because the relationship is built upon consistency instead of uncertainty. There is a quiet confidence that grows when both hearts are committed to walking with integrity. This kind of connection brings rest to the soul because it does not require endless striving to survive. You may be surprised by how naturally these divine appointments unfold. Sometimes they begin with what seems like an ordinary encounter. A conversation that almost did not happen. An invitation you nearly declined. A simple act of kindness that leads to an unexpected friendship. Looking back, you realize that heaven had been arranging the details long before you recognized their significance. The moments that appear ordinary often become the turning points that reshape an entire future. This is why every day deserves to be lived with hope rather than discouragement. You never know which seemingly ordinary moment has already been appointed by heaven. Archangel Michael reminds you that peace should become one of your greatest forms of discernment. In the past, you may have mistaken emotional intensity for genuine connection. You may have believed that constant uncertainty was proof of deep affection. Yet true peace carries a different feeling. It allows you to be yourself without fear. It invites honesty instead of pretending. It encourages growth instead of insecurity. The people heaven brings into your life will inspire you to become more faithful, more compassionate, and more confident in your purpose. They will not require you to diminish who you are in order to remain accepted. As August 27th approaches, let this truth settle deeply within your heart. The blessing you have been praying for is not only about receiving new people. It is about receiving healthy relationships. It is about recognizing connections that carry mutual encouragement rather than constant emotional exhaustion. It is about discovering opportunities that align with your calling instead of pulling you away from it. Heaven is not interested in filling your life with more noise. Desires to fill your life with greater peace, deeper purpose, and lasting joy. Do not overlook the quiet changes already happening within you. The very fact that you now desire peace more than constant excitement is evidence that your spirit has matured. You have learned that genuine love does not have to be chased. Authentic friendships do not have to be manipulated. Meaningful opportunities do not require you to compromise your deepest values. This wisdom is one of the greatest gifts your waiting season has produced. It allows you to recognize the difference between what merely appears attractive and what truly carries heaven's blessing. When the right people finally arrive, you may notice that they affirm qualities within you that others ignored. They recognize your kindness without taking advantage of it. They appreciate your loyalty without demanding that you sacrifice your peace. They celebrate your growth instead of feeling threatened by it. These are the kinds of relationships that strengthen your journey rather than complicate it. They remind you that you were never created to spend your life convincing others of your worth. Your value has always existed, even when others failed to see it. So continue walking forward with confidence. Refuse to return to old habits of chasing what continually runs away. Keep your heart open, your spirit humble, and your eyes fixed on the quiet work that heaven continues to accomplish. Trust that every lesson, every delay, and every season of preparation hath been leading toward this new chapter. The doors opening before you will not require fear to keep them open. They will be sustained by truth, guided by wisdom, and filled with the peace that only divine timing can produce. Type "I welcome heaven's timing" in the comments if you receive this message with faith. Blessing code 5831 is now activated over every heart that chooses peace over pursuit. As this promise settles into your spirit, let your response become part of someone else's breakthrough. God says that those who water others will themselves be refreshed, and every act of generosity becomes a stream that carries hope farther than you can imagine. If your heart is saying, "I want this message to reach every soul that needs it," act on that prompting today. Your super thanks and your PayPal donation become seeds that help spread God's word to people searching for light, and the PayPal donation link is available in every video description and through the QR code included in each video. I declare that every cheerful giver will experience fresh favor, unexpected provision, and renewed strength according to God's perfect timing. Do not ignore the invitation placed before you. Sow your seed today and allow your obedience to become part of heaven's harvest. There is a freedom that many people search for their entire lives without realizing it has been waiting within a single decision. The decision is the choice to stop chasing what continually moves away from you. It sounds simple, yet it changes everything. The moment you release the need to force acceptance, persuade reluctant hearts, or endlessly prove your worth, something remarkable begins to happen within your spirit. The burden becomes lighter. Your thoughts become clearer. Your prayers become more peaceful. Archangel Michael's message is leading you toward this freedom because heaven never intended for your life to be defined by endless pursuit. It was always meant to be shaped by confident trust. For many years, you may have believed that persistence meant refusing to let go. You convinced yourself that if you simply try harder, loved more deeply, or waited a little longer, someone would finally become the person you hoped they could be. While perseverance is a beautiful quality when directed toward your purpose, it becomes a heavy burden when directed toward people who have repeatedly chosen a different path. There is a profound difference between remaining faithful to your calling and remaining trapped in relationships that continually drain your peace. Wisdom teaches you to recognize that difference. One of the greatest lies fear tells is that letting go means losing everything. Fear whispers that if you stop chasing, you will end up alone. It tells you that this opportunity is your last chance, that this relationship is the only one you will ever have, or that no one else will ever understand your heart. These thoughts can feel convincing because they speak directly to your deepest insecurities. Yet they are built upon scarcity rather than faith. Heaven does not operate from scarcity. Heaven operates from abundance, purpose, and perfect timing. What has been prepared for you cannot be replaced simply because you chose to trust instead of panic. Archangel Michael's message reminds you that your value has never depended upon another person's willingness to recognize it. Long before anyone accepted you or rejected you, your life already carried purpose. Long before someone praised your strengths or criticized your weaknesses, Your identity was already known by the one who created you. When this truth becomes deeply rooted in your heart, you stop seeking constant validation because you begin living from a place of quiet confidence. You no longer introduce yourself through your disappointments. You begin introducing yourself through your purpose. There is another beautiful transformation that occurs when you stop chasing. Your attention shifts away from what you cannot control and toward what you can faithfully cultivate. Instead of spending your energy wondering why someone failed to appreciate you, you begin investing that same energy into becoming wiser, kinder, stronger, and more peaceful. Instead of replaying painful conversations in your mind, you begin creating new memories built upon gratitude and hope. Instead of standing outside doors that refuse to open, you begin walking toward the doors that heaven has quietly begun to unlock. This change in focus becomes one of the greatest turning points in your spiritual journey. As August 27th approaches, allow yourself to embrace this new perspective. Every day you choose peace over pursuit is another day your heart becomes more prepared for what lies ahead. Every moment you refuse to chase old disappointments creates space for new possibilities to enter your life. You are no longer living with your eyes fixed on what has already ended. You are learning to look ahead with expectation, believing that heaven is already arranging encounters you have not yet imagined. You may still encounter moments when old habits try to return. There may be days when you feel tempted to reopen conversations that have already reached their conclusion. You may wonder whether one more attempt will finally produce a different outcome. During those moments, remember everything your journey has taught you. Remember the peace that came when you finally released what you could never control. Remember the wisdom that grew through every season of waiting. Remember that genuine relationships are built upon mutual willingness, not one-sided striving. Allow those memories to strengthen your resolve rather than weaken it. Archangel Michael's message is not asking you to stop caring about people. It is inviting you to care wisely. It is encouraging you to love without losing yourself, to give without abandoning your peace, and to remain compassionate without carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. This balance reflects spiritual maturity. It allows you to remain open-hearted while also protecting the purpose heaven has placed within you. As you continue walking forward, expect your confidence to grow. Not because every question has been answered, but because you have learned that uncertainty does not cancel divine guidance. The road ahead may still contain surprises, but you no longer fear them as you once did. You understand that every step taken in faith brings you closer to the life that has been prepared for you. You are discovering the joy of receiving instead of constantly pursuing, the peace of trusting instead of endlessly striving, and the confidence of knowing that what truly belongs in your life will never require you to sacrifice your dignity in order to keep it. This is the freedom heaven has been patiently leading you toward. Walk in it with gratitude. Protect it with wisdom. Nurture it with faith. The right people are not searching for someone who is exhausted from chasing yesterday. They are being guided toward someone who has learned to stand with quiet confidence, whose heart has been strengthened by grace, and whose life reflects the peaceful assurance that heaven is already bringing the right ones to the right door at exactly the right time. Writing every new season begins with a choice. Before the visible changes appear, before the prayers are answered in ways you can clearly recognize, and before the people heaven has prepared finally step into your life, there is a quiet decision that must be made within your own heart. That decision is to walk forward with expectation instead of fear. Archangel Michael's message is not merely asking you to stop chasing what was never meant for you. It is inviting you to become the kind of person who confidently walks toward the future without constantly looking over your shoulder. Your greatest days are not hidden in what you left behind. They are waiting in the direction heaven is leading you. It is easy to trust when every circumstance appears favorable. It is much more difficult to trust when the evidence has not yet become visible. Yet this is where genuine faith grows strongest. Faith is not the absence of questions. It is the willingness to keep moving even while some questions remain unanswered. It is choosing hope when disappointment would seem easier. It is believing that every faithful step matters, even if today's progress appears small. Heaven often works through steady movement rather than sudden leaps. Every quiet act of obedience becomes another stone placed into the foundation of your future. As August 27th approaches, let your heart become increasingly attentive to the small ways heaven may be guiding you. Guidance is not always dramatic. Sometimes it arrives through a peaceful conviction that gently directs your attention toward a new opportunity. Sometimes it comes through unexpected wisdom spoken by someone you trust. Sometimes it appears as an inner hesitation that prevents you from rushing into a decision you would later regret. Learning to recognize these gentle moments of direction is part of walking confidently into a new season. The more faithfully you respond to small moments of guidance, the more clearly you begin to recognize the larger pattern unfolding across your life. Archangel Michael's message reminds you that courage is not loud. True courage often appears as quiet consistency. It is continuing to believe after previous disappointments. It is remaining kind after experiencing rejection. It is refusing to allow bitterness to replace compassion. Anyone can become discouraged after difficult experiences. But choosing to keep your heart open without becoming careless requires spiritual strength. That strength has been developing within you through every challenge you have overcome. You may not always recognize how much you have grown, but heaven has seen every step. There is another habit that becomes essential as you enter this new chapter. Guard your thoughts carefully. The direction of your thoughts often becomes the direction of your life. If your mind remains fixed upon every past disappointment, you will struggle to recognize the blessings standing quietly before you. But if your thoughts become anchored in gratitude and expectation, your spirit remains ready to receive new opportunities when they appear. Gratitude is not denying that difficult seasons existed. Gratitude is recognizing that even those difficult seasons carried lessons that prepared you for where you are now. Perhaps there are still moments when memories from the past attempt to pull you backward. Certain faces, certain conversations, or certain disappointments may occasionally return to your mind. Do not become discouraged when this happens. Healing is often revealed not by the absence of memories but by the absence of their power to control you. The events may still be remembered, but they no longer define your identity or determine your future. They become reminders of how faithfully you have been carried rather than reasons to remain trapped. Continue making space in your daily life for quiet reflection and prayer. In a world filled with constant noise, it becomes increasingly important to create moments where your heart can hear the gentle direction of heaven. Peace often speaks softly. Wisdom rarely shouts. The more time you spend cultivating a peaceful spirit, the easier it becomes to recognize which opportunities deserve your attention and which distractions should simply be released. This practice protects you from rushing into situations that look impressive but lack lasting purpose. As you move through this season, remember that your calling is greater than your comfort. There may still be moments that require courage. There may still be doors that ask you to step into unfamiliar places. Yet you no longer walk with the fear that once controlled you. You now carry the confidence that heaven has already gone before you. The same wisdom that protected you from the wrong relationships is also preparing the right relationships. The same guidance that closed certain doors is also arranging the doors that will soon open. Nothing has been random. Every chapter has contributed to the story that is still unfolding. Walk into each new day expecting goodness instead of expecting disappointment. Speak words of hope instead of rehearsing old fears. Allow your actions to reflect the confidence that your prayers are not forgotten. Live as someone who believes that divine appointments are already being arranged beyond your sight. The people meant to encourage your purpose are drawing closer. The opportunities aligned with your calling are steadily moving into place. The peace you have been learning to protect will become one of the greatest confirmations that you are walking in the right direction. Archangel Michael's message closes this season of preparation with a simple invitation. Lift your eyes. Straighten your path. Leave yesterday where it belongs. Continue forward with humility, faith, and unwavering expectation. You are no longer walking toward uncertainty alone. You are walking toward a future that has been carefully prepared, patiently protected, and lovingly guided by heaven. Every faithful step you take today becomes another confirmation that you are no longer chasing blessings that were never meant to remain. You are walking confidently toward the blessings that have already been appointed to find you at exactly the right moment. There are moments in life when the heart quietly asks, how much longer? It is not a question born from disbelief but from weariness. After praying for so long, waiting through so many seasons, and watching one chapter close after another, it is natural to wonder whether the answer is finally near. If those thoughts have crossed your mind, then listen closely to the message Archangel Michael is placing before your spirit today. The waiting has not been meaningless. Every step, every lesson, every unexpected delay has been leading toward a moment of fulfillment that is now drawing closer than you realize. Heaven has never forgotten the prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that because they cannot yet see the answer, nothing is happening. Yet some of the most important work takes place beyond human sight. A builder lays the foundation before the walls appear. A gardener prepares the soil before the harvest becomes visible. In the same way, heaven often completes its greatest work in hidden places before revealing it openly. The silence you experienced was not empty. It was filled with preparation. While you wondered whether anything was changing, heaven was aligning people, opening unseen pathways, removing hidden obstacles, and strengthening your heart so you would be ready for the blessing when it arrived. As August 27th approaches, pay attention to the subtle confirmations that begin appearing in your life. They may not arrive as dramatic signs. Sometimes confirmation comes through an unexpected sense of peace where anxiety once lived. Sometimes it comes through the sudden release of old burdens that no longer hold the same weight. Sometimes it appears as a new opportunity that seems to arrive without the exhausting effort that once defined your journey. These quiet confirmations remind you that heaven is moving, even when everything appears ordinary on the surface. Archangel Michael's message encourages you to recognize another important truth. The end of one season often feels surprisingly ordinary. You may expect a great announcement or an unmistakable moment that changes everything overnight. Instead, many new beginnings unfold one faithful step at a time. One conversation leads to another. One act of obedience opens another door. One decision to trust creates another opportunity for grace to work. Looking back, you eventually realize that what seemed like ordinary days were actually the beginning of extraordinary change. There is also a difference between hoping that something good might happen and expecting that heaven is already at work. Hope wishes. Expectation watches. Hope dreams. Expectation prepares. If you truly believe that the right people are already being guided toward your life, then begin preparing your heart to welcome them with wisdom instead of fear. If you believe that new opportunities are approaching, then continue growing into the person who can steward those opportunities well. Preparation is one of the greatest expressions of faith because it demonstrates confidence before the evidence becomes visible. Perhaps you still carry a few unanswered questions. You may wonder why certain people were allowed to leave if they once seemed so important. You may still think about opportunities that slipped away, or dreams that unfolded differently than you expected. Those questions do not disqualify your faith. Yet there comes a moment when peace becomes more valuable than complete understanding. You may never know every reason behind every closed door, but you can know this with confidence. Heaven does not waste pain. Every disappointment that was surrendered became part of your preparation. Every delay that tested your patience strengthened your endurance. Every farewell created room for greater welcome. The beautiful truth is that you are no longer standing where you once stood. Compare the person you are today with the person who first began this journey. You have become more discerning. You have learned that peace is more valuable than constant excitement. You have discovered that genuine relationships do not require endless persuasion. You now understand that your worth has never depended upon another person's approval. These lessons are not small victories. They are evidence that heaven hath been transforming you from the inside out. Archangel Michael reminds you that when heaven completes a season of preparation, it also provides the grace needed for the season that follows. You will not be expected to walk into tomorrow with yesterday's strength. Fresh grace will meet you at every new beginning. Fresh wisdom will guide your decisions. Fresh peace will steady your heart. This is why you no longer need to fear the unknown. The one who has faithfully carried you through every previous season will remain faithful in the one that is now unfolding. So lift your eyes with renewed confidence. Refuse to measure your future by your past disappointments. Refuse to believe that delays have become permanent. Refuse to surrender your expectations simply because the journey hath been longer than you imagined. The story is not ending in the place where you experienced rejection. It is moving toward a place of restoration. The relationships heaven has prepared will recognize the value you no longer need to explain. The opportunities designed for your purpose will arrive without requiring you to abandon your integrity. The peace you have protected through every difficult season will become the very atmosphere surrounding the life that is now unfolding before you. As August 27th arrives, remember this message whenever doubt attempts to return. The waiting season is giving way to a season of confirmation. The prayers you thought had been forgotten have remained safely held in heaven's hands. The path ahead has already been prepared with greater wisdom than you could ever imagine. Walk forward with confidence, because what hath been promised is no longer a distant possibility. It is becoming the next chapter of your journey, and when you finally look back on everything that once caused confusion, you will discover that heaven was faithfully leading you every step of the way. My beloved friend, as this message gently comes to its close, allow your heart to become completely still for just a moment. Take a deep breath and remember everything you have heard today. This journey has never been about teaching you how to chase harder. It has been about teaching you how to trust deeper. On August 27th, Archangel Michael's message echoes with the same powerful truth from beginning to end. Do not chase them anymore. Heaven is already bringing the right ones to your door. Those words are not meant to create fear or unrealistic expectations. They are meant to replace striving with peace, anxiety with confidence, and uncertainty with quiet faith. Think about how far you have already come. There was a season when rejection felt like the end of your story. There was a season when every closed door convinced you that you had somehow failed. There was a season when you believed you had to prove your value to people who never truly saw the treasure that heaven had already placed within you. But you are not standing in that season anymore. You have grown through every disappointment. You have learned through every delay. You have become stronger through every unanswered question. What once seemed like a burden has become wisdom. What once felt like loss has become preparation. Carry this truth with you long after this message ends. The right people will never require you to abandon your peace to earn their presence. The right opportunities will never demand that you compromise your integrity to receive them. The blessings that heaven prepares do not arrive to create confusion. They arrive with clarity. They arrive with purpose. They arrive with the quiet assurance that you no longer have to force what has already been appointed by divine timing. Archangel Michael's message is also a reminder that courage is not always found in fighting harder. Sometimes courage is found in releasing what no longer belongs in your hands. Sometimes courage is choosing not to send one more message, not to reopen one more closed chapter, and not to spend another day trying to convince someone to see your worth. Real courage is trusting that if heaven has chosen to remove something from your path, it has also prepared something better beyond your sight. As you continue into the days ahead, wake each morning expecting peace instead of pressure. Let gratitude become your first response instead of worry. Protect your heart from returning to old habits of chasing approval, chasing acceptance, or chasing doors that have already closed. Instead, become the kind of person who walks with quiet confidence, knowing that what is truly meant for you cannot permanently miss you. Every sunrise is another reminder that heaven continues to work even while the world sleeps. Every new day carries possibilities you cannot yet imagine. Every faithful step draws you closer to the people, opportunities, and purpose that have been lovingly prepared for your life. If moments of doubt return, remember this message. When fear whispers that you are forgotten, answer it with faith. When disappointment tries to pull your eyes backward, lift your gaze toward the future. When impatience tells you to force what has not yet arrived, choose instead to rest in the confidence that divine timing has never failed. Heaven has seen every prayer, every tear, every act of faith, and every moment you chose hope over despair. None of it has been wasted. Before we close, receive this declaration over your life. May your heart be filled with unshakable peace. May your path be illuminated with divine wisdom. May every relationship appointed for your future arrive at exactly the right time. May every unnecessary burden fall away. May every closed door that protected you become a reason for gratitude. And may every new door that heaven opens bring lasting joy, genuine love, and a deeper sense of purpose than you have ever known. Walk forward without fear, because you are not walking alone. The same heavenly guidance that has carried you this far will continue leading every step ahead. Type "I receive my divine appointment" in the comments if you believe this message has spoken to your spirit. Blessing code 8844 is now released over every faithful heart that chooses trust over striving and peace over pursuit. As this message settles into your heart, remember that every act of generosity becomes another light shining into someone's darkest moment. The Lord declares, "Give, and it will be given to you." And today that promise becomes a living invitation to every willing heart. If you are saying, "I want to help this message reach the next person heaven is calling," then let your faith become action today. Your super thanks and your PayPal donation become seeds that help spread God's word across the world to hearts searching for hope. And the PayPal donation link is available in every video description, as well as through the QR code in each video. I speak a blessing over every cheerful giver, that doors of favor, provision, peace, and divine protection will open according to God's perfect will. Do not delay the assignment heaven has placed before you. Sow your seed today, strengthen this mission, and become part of the harvest that God is already bringing to His children.